Germany's defense minister has pushed back against growing fears that Russia is preparing to attack NATO after the Ukraine conflict ends. Speaking in a recent interview, Boris Pistorius said he does not believe that Russian President Vladimir Putin wants a direct military confrontation with the NATO alliance. His comments directly challenge warnings made earlier by NATO's top official, who suggested that Western Europe could be Russia's next target in the coming years. This difference in views has sparked debate across Europe about Russia's true intentions and the future of NATO security. Earlier this month, NATO Secretary-General Mark Rutte warned that Russia could be ready to use military force against NATO within 5 years. He claimed that once the fighting in Ukraine stops, Moscow might turn its attention toward Western Europe. Rutte used this warning to urge NATO countries to increase military spending immediately, saying the alliance must prepare for possible future conflict. However, Germany's defense chief does not share that view. When asked about Rutte's comments in an interview with the German newspaper Die Zeit, Pistorius said plainly that he does not see such a scenario happening. Pistorius: Putin wants influence, not war. According to Pistorius, President Putin has no interest in launching a full-scale war against NATO, which would risk a global conflict. Instead, he suggested that Russia's strategy is focused on weakening the alliance from the inside, rather than attacking it directly. Pistorius explained that Moscow may try to create divisions among NATO members, reduce trust between allies, and encourage political disagreements that could damage unity. He also claimed that Russia is attempting to reduce the United States' role in Europe by slowly pushing Washington away from the continent through political and strategic pressure. President Putin has publicly rejected claims that Russia plans to attack NATO. During a recent end-of-year question-and-answer session, he addressed Rutte's comments directly. Putin said he respects Rutte's intelligence, but questioned why the NATO leader keeps talking about an imminent war with Russia. Putin asked why such claims are being made when official Western policy documents say something very different. US strategy document raises questions. Putin pointed to the new US national security strategy, released earlier this month by President Donald Trump's administration. According to Putin, the document does not describe Russia as a threat to the West. It also clearly states that NATO should not expand further and criticizes the European Union's political and cultural direction. These points, Putin argued, contradict claims that the West is preparing for war with Russia or that Russia plans to attack NATO. Russia's Deputy Foreign Minister, Sergei Ryabkov, echoed Putin's position earlier this week. Ryabkov said Moscow is willing to provide legal guarantees confirming that Russia will not attack NATO or the European Union. He explained that such guarantees could be included in a future agreement to settle the Ukraine conflict, based on what Russia calls the principle of equal and indivisible security, meaning no country should strengthen its security at the expense of others. Moscow rejects NATO fear. Narrative Russian officials have repeatedly denied accusations that Moscow has aggressive plans against NATO countries. They argue that these claims are being used by Western leaders to shift attention away from domestic problems, such as economic difficulties, political instability, and public dissatisfaction. According to Moscow, portraying Russia as a looming threat helps justify higher military budgets and expanded defense policies across Europe. The statements from Germany's defense minister reveal a clear divide within the Western alliance. While NATO leadership continues to warn of long-term danger from Russia, at least some senior European officials believe those fears are exaggerated. Pistorius's comments suggest that not all NATO members see Russia as preparing for direct military conflict, and that the real struggle may be political influence, unity, and long-term strategy rather than battlefield confrontation. As the war in Ukraine continues, questions about Europe's future security remain at the center of global attention. For now, Germany's defense chief says there is no immediate reason to believe Russia is preparing for war with NATO. Instead, He believes Moscow is focused on weakening the alliance through political pressure and division rather than tanks and missiles. The debate highlights growing uncertainty within NATO itself over how to interpret Russia's actions, how serious the threat really is, and how Europe should prepare for what comes next.